defunding the police, that's a big topic right now. A lot of information is going on, a lot of misinformation is going on, and a lot of people jumping to conclusions.
Well, me and you talked about this. We're guilty. We marched in the BLM protests, and then, like, was it before that or after that? We're like, what does defund the police mean? I saw a lot of signs.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. But looking into it, it's like I've been saying for years, like, the United States could probably back up on that military budget a bit. Mm-hmm. I get it. We need a strong military, but we could definitely cut that budget and still be stronger than anyone. So, but, enough's never enough, right? But it's...
Okay, so defunding the police, yeah, totally. We were walking and thinking, what does that even mean, right? They're starting to spew this. You see signs that say this. What does that mean? And so automatically Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, family, friends, just putting a bunch of stuff out there like, how can we defund the police? Who are you going to call when somebody breaks into your car? Are you going to call 911? You're going to expect someone to be there. That's not what defunding the police means. After doing a bunch of reading over the last few days, it's really just demilitarizing police. And not only demilitarizing them, but it's making it so that, and actually it turns out that there's a shitload of cities across the United States that are doing this already. And we can look to these cities to see how it's going. One of them is Austin, Texas, I believe. And so what they're doing is taking away a budget from the police department, putting it towards a program where instead of a police officer reporting to a domestic situation where maybe there's an out-of-control person in a household or something, but this out-of-control person has mental disabilities. And so you send a police officer, a social worker, and a medical personnel on this ride to the house to de-escalate the situation. So whether that person needs some kind of mental coach, whether that person needs to, some kind of medical issue, or whether that person is really violent, now you have a team of individuals going in. And so it lowers the risk of violence from police officer, and it increases the risk of helping somebody out instead of them ending up in a jail. And it turns out it works, man. Less people get arrested, less violence, less tragedies. And so defunding the police is not fucking saying no more officers, right? It's basically saying, let's figure out a program where we're not fucking giving them tanks and fucking crazy ass military gear. We're using these budgets to go into other programs like this.
Well, I've heard both arguments. I agree that, just like I said, defunding the military, defunding the police is probably something. I think in the 70s, I want to say Nixon or Reagan started the slow movement towards where we're at now, where they have fucking tanks and not real tanks, but right. Armored vehicles,
law and order,
and it's like I hear two arguments. I heard Stockton did the same thing years back.
I think I read something about Stockton.
It didn't seem to work out very well there. Go to Stockton today. Go live there, I dare you. But it's like I know some people live in Stockton. There's some okay areas, but I don't know much about that. But I have heard some podcasts, The Fighter and the Kid, talked about that, and they're like, "You fucking crazy! Like, don't defund the police." And they're like, but I do see that like that money the budget's been blown up. And it doesn't need to be.
$100 billion a year.
For all police forces?
In the nation.
So just like...
across the board, 100...
Lindsay, Fresno, L.A., San Francisco, New York.
Across the nation.
1 billion.
100 billion.
How many people fall under that?
I have no idea. I don't know.
That doesn't seem like... That doesn't... I'll be honest, that's a lot, but... Man, the United States is huge.
$100 billion.
Oh, you said 100. I thought you said 1 billion.
No, 100 billion.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fucking money.
That's a lot
of
money.
And for some,
and they don't need a college degree.
Right.
Fuck.
I mean, that's another thing, right? I mean, it's just too goddamn easy to be a cop.
Fat cops out there.
There is, and I think I read somewhere it's easier to be a cop than a barber.
I was talking. You saw the new. That's crazy, but you saw the New York. Yeah, that was exactly what he said. My buddy that grew up in New York, the New York Union police chief, spoke out. You saw that?
Oh yeah, right.
Very angrily, but
he was pissed.
My buddy who's from the state of New York was like, "Yeah, it takes 6 months or 6 months to be a cop. Don't quote me on this. I'm drinking a whiskey, but 6 months to be a cop, and it takes like 16 months to be a makeup artist or to cut hair,
right,
or something like that."
Crazy
numbers. Those numbers are obviously wrong, but that's insane.
Yeah, exactly.
The fuck's wrong with us,
right? And that's a systematic problem already. So if you say there's no systematic problems, that's already one of them. And so defunding the police has to do with that. It's other programs, but mostly just bringing in new systems, right? Documenting more systems. You know, New York is talking about, well, we're going to enforce the body cam things. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like
what?
The body cams.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So
how does not everyone, with that budget, how does not everyone have a working body cam? We
right?
buy GoPros all the time for the shit we do. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, well, you know they work. It's a problem, man. It's a systematic problem, but I think there's a lot of rhetoric around the defunding the police that people don't understand.
Yeah, well, just hearing it's a little. Even me and you talked about it, like,
right.
What the fuck? Like, I don't want to live without police because, you know, in San Francisco, I knew some anarchists that really believed in it, and I was like, fuck that. I was like, you never met an asshole? Because anarchy, like, basically you create a community, you trade the next community, but it's like, what if one guy's like, oh, I can't produce anything, so I'm going to take your shit because I'm strong. That's an asshole.
That's an asshole.
And assholes exist.
And there's a lot of them out there. Dude, absolutely, man. And to be honest, I mean, maybe I would call the cops if somebody robbed me, but, dude, you hear it time and time again, especially in colored communities. Yeah, I called the cops or women, a lot. We've seen it in the Epstein case. You know, they go to the police department, they report, hey, this guy raped me, or, hey, I just got mugged. And it's like, yeah, fill out this paperwork, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it's like you're wasting my time. Is it a murder? No, then go fuck yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've definitely had a hit and run recently. I think I talked about this too on a podcast, but it's just like I had to buy my police report that only had the information I gave them on it, and I couldn't check it until I paid for it.
Fucked up.
And they didn't take card. I had to go get cash at the local mini mart down the street.
Fuckers.
It's like, what the fuck? This is the information I gave you. Why did I pay money for this?
So it's a fucking problem. It's a fucking problem. It needs to be looked at sincerely and in depth. And if reorganizing police departments is the way to go, or defunding them is what they're calling it, but it's more of just restructuring and developing more programs, then fucking do it.
Did you see the Minneapolis mayor?
The mayor? Oh, the mayor?
Mayor, sorry, I pronounced.
No, what did he say?
So he's been, that's where George Floyd was murdered, right? So he's been apparently like out in the community, the protests. He cried at the casket, seemed a little staged in my opinion.
Perhaps.
Bawling. Like,
okay.
I don't know. He's a younger dude, but he asked for the officers to be arrested, I think the next day or that week or something, but really soon. And then they had him come up to a stage in a rally, and he's surrounded by protesters. And a lady, I don't know who she was, grabbed the mic from the guy that had it and said, "We have a yes or no question for you." I was like, oh, I can't wait to hear this. Because that doesn't seem like a good question to have for
I didn't
someone.
watch it.
He's been doing everything. He's dancing. He's got the white boy dance with everybody. But then they asked him, like, will you, yes or no, abolish the police force?
I think I read about this.
Fact check me on this, but I believe it was abolish, not defund.
Right, abolish.
Yeah, and he was like, what? Wait, like completely? Like overnight? Like you could tell he's starting to talk to him like, right. Yes or no? And so you lost me there. You lost me. You're forcefully trying to force a person with basically a invisible gun to his head in the middle of a protest to say something that you want him to say.
Right.
That's weird.
I heard that interview actually on NPR. They interviewed the mayor, and he was talking about that because that was like near his house or something like that, right?
I don't know. It was out on the street, and he was surrounded, and he basically said, no, I don't agree with 100% abolishing police, but he's spoken about restructuring. Maybe he's lying.
Well, that's exactly what he was talking about in the interview that I watched or listened to. And, dude, I totally agree with what he's talking about. He was put on the spot, so he looks bad, right, because he says no to that one answer. But abolishing the police is very different from defunding the police.
Exactly.
Because abolishing, I think, actually that Buffalo Police Department, of those 57 officers that resigned because those two guys got in trouble for pushing that old man who I think died, right? I don't know. I'm not sure either, but I think that's what I heard. But anyway, so they're talking about abolishing that police department because obviously, they're all fuckheads over there. So that's a different story. Yeah, defunding the police is...
But are they all fuckheads?
Fuck, if every single one of them resigned...
It was weird that many people...
Fuck them all.
But guess what? So what? So this was the argument against defund. Actually, finish your point. Sorry.
Well, no, I think I was done with that point. But going back to those guys...
what was he saying in the NPR interview?
Oh, well, in the interview, that's exactly what he was saying was, I was put on the spot. I said no. I got a lot of hate. People you were cheering in the negative. But right after that, people that are in the movement, that are in the Black Lives Matter movement, contacted me, and we met and we talked about exactly what we're gonna do to see what we can make changes, and that's restructuring the police department. Because nobody wants to get burglarized and not have an officer there to serve the people. And I totally agree with that, dude. We need individuals to make sure that we're being safe or whatever that may be, but just doing it fucking right.
Yeah, and it's weird to have a mayor who's literally doing everything you want him to do, making sure these cops get arrested, marching with you, dancing with you, crying at a casket, although I thought it was fake. But, doing everything, and then he disagrees one time, and it's literally, she said, fuck you, get him fucking out of here, and he got berated. It's a hardcore video, but it's good for him for getting back in there and being like, no, like, we're going to make changes, we're going to prove this lady wrong.
Well, and I think it goes back to even the rioting and shit, right? It's the people that don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're stir crazy. They've been in the house for 3 fucking months, and then they get out, and now they don't know what the fuck to do, so they're vandalizing, whatever. I mean, that's probably not the case, but, when he says no, most of the people that don't know a fucking thing about nothing, they're just out there to cause ruckus. They're the ones like, you fuck you, asshole.
Dude, the whole crowd looked like he was getting earful all this long walk of shame. Sure. That's a real walk of shame.
But like he said, afterwards, the people that are really interested in creating change, they've contacted me since, and we've had conversations about what to do.
Well, and a mob's a scary thing because of that situation. There's a vibe like, and when it's easy to join a mob. It's hard to be the individual stand up for what you really believe. And I give him kudos for being like, no, because I was like, he's gonna fold, he's a bitch, he's gonna fold. But he was like, no, because that's insane to abolish the police overnight. But I'm glad people watching at home, I think probably a little calmer, not in the area, not like basing their feelings off emotion. I'm glad they reached out to him, because that's going to fix the situation. Because we talked about this before. There's a lot of white people that are ignorant, including myself, and but even more so that are on the fence of this. Do we buy this bullshit? Sure. Do we not? Yeah, say what you will, but we all know that's true. And a lot of them get pushed on what I consider the wrong side of the fence because of videos like these. And of course, these videos go viral, obviously. But it's like when you watch those videos, and I talk to these people, and it's like, well, so if I don't agree with 100% what they say, like, fuck you, go fuck yourself, you die. I'm like,
Yeah, and you know what? I would just say to that, take it with a grain of salt, because again, you through all of this, you can't disconcern or whatever, I don't know how to say this, but you can't discount these feelings, right? These feelings of why they're even in the streets in the first place, right? These are, hundreds of years and generations of injustices and just gruesome shit that you can't even fucking imagine. So you can see where that, not rage, but that energy comes from. And so when you have a reaction like that, and that's what I like about what he said in the interview too, is like, hey, you have to walk through that, because even though that you have to speak your mind and just hope that they respect that, and then you walk right through it, and you
part of the job.
It's part of the job, right? And with these people,
it's a taxpayer job.
They have a lot of energy right now, and so you just got to take that with a grain of salt and just say, okay, well, hey, these people are a little pissed, but I'm still with them. Let's see it. Let's continue this fight, and let's keep going.
I didn't know he did the interview, but that's awesome. That sounds like it's going towards a positive direction, because, I told you I've talked to some people that have left the Republican Party because Trump had a huge opportunity here and he dropped the ball. Oh man.
See, that's what I thought. We talked to actually a couple podcasts ago about a conspiracy of what was going on, and that's exactly what I thought. I thought maybe this was kind of not staged, but Trump was going to take advantage of the situation, get those officers arrested, and he was going to look like the hero.
Yeah.
But it's not looking like that right
now. There goes your conspiracy.
There goes my conspiracy. Out the window.
Oh, we got to get the...
Yeah, that was gone.
But, but he had a huge opportunity, and, it's... I've talked to people that have been like, I can't be in the same party as him. Whether you believe he's a true Republican or not, obviously if you follow McCain or the history of Trump's quotes, he's not a true Republican. But he is what the Republican Party is now, whatever it is. But it's, I've talked to people that have changed their opinions about that, But they do see videos like that mirror video, and but it's a big gray area. We talk about that. And it's important to remember, like, what the real issue is here. Go back to the original issue. A man had 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
46 seconds.
And of a knee on his neck.
But that's not the real issue. That is a real issue, but that's
that shows the real issue.
Yeah, that's just a piece.
Tip of the iceberg.
Tip of the iceberg, right? And that's just a piece of this just huge fucking puzzle, man. That's been going on for decades, and generations really, but more so in what we've seen in police brutality for decades. Yeah, so I have another statistic here, Jay, and that's 3 million American students have a police officer in their school and not a nurse.
That's fucking nutty.
That's crazy, huh? And I would imagine probably not a librarian either. If they don't have a nurse, they don't have a fucking librarian.
Do we need a librarian? Well, they do.
Fuck yeah, we need a librarian.
That's what they did. But there's like no books anymore, right? It's all digital.
Dude, so... defunding the police, right? What does that all mean? It's kind of a triggering fact that we go through this pandemic. COVID-19 hits. We have this pandemic. Doctors are wearing fucking trash bags and fucking bottles over their face. No PPE. We can't get equipment out to these doctors or nurses. But then everything settles down and we go through these protests. The next thing you know, we have fucking billions of dollars of military gear out in the streets ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, within a fucking couple days. So,
well, who's the girl that was a police officer that died recently?
I'm not sure. Here in Sac?
No.
There's one that died here in Sac.
Yeah, but it was recently. It was like right after George Floyd or before. It's just viral, like it's going around, just like George Floyd. I forget, my bad. But she was a cop and she was sleeping in her apartment. I forget what state it is, but they have a no knock warrant.
Oh, right.
What the fuck is that?
Right?
No knock warrant? Don't you have to read the fucking warrant to know it's real before they bust in and shoot your ass?
Exactly.
What the fuck is that?
Where are our fucking priorities?
Fuck no knock warrants. Who agrees to that?
So one of the amendments in a bill that they're getting ready to pass is going to eliminate that. And actually, they're going to do another thing, and I wrote this down. Actually, it's the Justice and Policing Act. That's what it's called. And one of the biggest things I got out of that was you're going to be able, and this is how I read it. Maybe it's different because this fucking legal lingo is fucking, or the legal jargon is just
I think all three of those are acceptable answers.
So
limbo, lingo, jargon.
Yeah, right. So anyways, so they talk about if you get convicted of a crime, and I don't know if you know this or not, Jay, but they can repossess all your shit. So if they think it has something to do with the crime, they can take it, whether that's your boat, your car, your house, your jewelry, whatever they think, and they take it. They can keep it. So if it turns out that you got on bail, you beat the case, you don't get your shit back.
What? Even if you win?
You don't get your shit back. And the cops have been criticized for this for fucking ever because they're making fucking a shitload of money, dude.
Sons of bitches.
Sons of bitches. So in this new bill, they're saying that if you get off and it turns out that you're innocent, you get your shit back. Which is pretty fucking big.
It doesn't fucking surprise me. Because every time I mess with legal shit, it's like, it's not good. No, it just doesn't make sense. And I'm like, wait, what? And they're like, shut the fuck up. Stand in line. Fill this paper.
More money.
Yeah, it's like, I get it. But I'm not saying it's right, but that's how I always assume. Like, the cops and the police, don't fuck with them because they go fuck your life up.
Oh, you're right.